If I may touch on just something you brought up earlier about what our enemies are thinking, if you don't mind me just touching on that from a military perspective.
Sure, please.
Think about it. If you're an enemy and your military command is looking at how we project out how we're going to win wars against the United States or the European Union, NATO, whatnot, they have battle plans, and they constantly go over them and refresh them, looking at new types of equipment, new leaders. I would bet you the plans to attack the United States under Donald Trump presidency are thousands upon thousands of pages. I would bet you the plans to attack the United States under a Kamala Harris, coward Tim Walz regime wouldn't even be a quarter of that. I bet you they know they can just overwhelm us in days because we would be so weak. So we know what our leaders are thinking. We could save billions of dollars, millions of lives with a Kamala Harris, coward Tim Walz administration. So they're salivating, like you said. To them, it's a cheaper war. It's a war with less casualties, and it's a war they could win. They can't win a war against us with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
I want you to elaborate on that a bit more, Mr. Cornicelli, because you're a retired Army captain. You've been there, done that in service. And so you have an interesting insight into what our enemies must be thinking when they watch the weakness of the Biden and now Harris regime here in the United States of America. I don't know what you call it. Maybe you've got a term for it in your world, but it has to be the absolute opposite of Ronald Reagan's peace through strength.
Yeah, so just so your listeners understand, I was a captain in the Army, and I was also enlisted in the Navy prior to that, so I've seen both sides. The enlisted side looking up at officers and how they lead, and the officer side looking at your NCOs, your non-commissioned officers, and your enlisted, and how to lead them properly. And leadership is what wins wars. When people are willing to follow you and not have to question your judgment, just do some internal questioning, can I do this? It's easy to say I can go to war, but it's easy to say I can go to war when I know my leader is fearless and would be here like he was, taking a bullet for us. So in the leadership lane, our military would be so effective under President Trump because they see the type of person he is. I mean, what other leader in the world would go to meet the leader of the Taliban with a picture of the guy's home saying, you killed one of my soldiers, this won't be here anymore? Reagan might have. I don't think Bush would have thought about it. He may have, but he was kind of a cowboy, as they used to say. But it's all the person at the tip of the spear. And with Trump there, nations would fear him. NATO would fear him because they know if you don't pay your fair share, the United States is not coming to your rescue. And what does that tell other leaders? We know all these other NATO states will be putting in their fair share. NATO's going to be jam-packed and unbeatable. So having the right person at the top of the ticket as the commander-in-chief is more important than the most technologically advanced piece of equipment we have.